Hey there, this is Mr. Icarus, and welcome to yet another edition of Doom Mod Madness. This time round, we're checking out a gameplay mod by the name of Abort. Now, I won't blame you for having a few pointed questions about this one, chief of which being, why is there a gigantic screaming doomguy head in the sky? Why has his scream summoned a horde of smaller yet equally vocal minions? What am I doing with my life? Well, fear no more. I have the answers to these questions and more. Well, at least the first two. But anyway, this is a sequel of sorts to a mod I played fairly recently. A mod that you may remember, I certainly do. It was called Ouch. Thankfully, however, this intro screen is more of a callback than a statement of intent. The amount of screaming disembodied heads you'll be dealing with during the course of this mod is vastly reduced, and the focus instead is much more on goofy weapon-based shenanigans. So without further ado, I think it's about high time we leave this godforsaken city behind and have a little fun. One of the first things you'll discover about Abort is that it allows you to give your enemies a nice, wholesome pat on the back. This, however, is largely a futile gesture because when the aura wears off, they'll just go back to, shooting you in the face. Hence the poking. Unfortunately, poking is not really an effective method of dealing with enemies here, so you're gonna have to look for something a little bit more substantial. The floor tile is certainly substantial. Replacing the chain gun, you can use it as a frisbee, you can bludgeon your enemies over the head with it, you can use it as a frisbee again, truly a multi-purpose marvel. You might not think much of the pistol, but then you realize it shoots peas, and then you realize that you can also eat those peas. And then you realize that it's literally a pea shooter, and therefore the greatest thing ever. The shotgun slot features the revolutionary removal of the shotgun entirely. I mean, it's just so obvious. You take out the middleman, you just throw the gunpowder directly into your enemy's face. I don't know why people haven't thought of this sooner. We've also got the pea is stored in the gun. That's the actual name. And yes, you have now just realized that it looks like a penis. The obvious implication being that you are in fact peeing all over your enemies, with peas. I see what they did there. The only other thing you might want to watch out for when using this particular weapon, however, is that much like the pea shooter, you can indeed consume the ammunition to gain health. However, you may feel much more uncomfortable about doing so while holding it. Speaking of uncomfortable, the weapon in slot 5, typically reserved for the rocket launcher, is a magic trick. One that happens to make your enemies violently explode from their buttholes. Somewhat catastrophically if you use the alt-fire, but the real icing on the cake of this one is everything in view is affected by it. As you can probably imagine, this ancient mystical technique is quite possibly one of the more powerful additions to the Abort armory, doubly so when you realize that almost clearing out an entire room like that only cost me 1 unit of ammunition. Of course, the technique itself also raises a whole host of questions, chief of which being, what exactly is ammunition for such a technique? What does it mean when you're going in dry, so to speak, without any ammunition? You're clearly causing the demons some discomfort, but not a lot of damage. If you thought things were only mildly wacky up until now, then this is most certainly where the mod kicks into overdrive. Why? Because this is a shotgun that shoots guns. All of them. With a deafeningly loud boom. So much so that this gun does in fact alert every enemy on the map when you use its primary fire. It's not an especially accurate weapon, but who needs accuracy when you're flinging chain guns and BFGs into demon faces? I have had a few occasions where enemies have managed to survive an almost direct blast, but they don't typically manage to survive the second. You've also got an odd secondary fire with this one that grinds the guns up and spits them out in a cloud of booming shrapnel. It's apparently a more subtle blast than the first, but really, if you're rocking the gun in the first place, the fear of damnation and oblivion is already struck in the heart of whatever demon's unfortunate enough to be on that map. I think it's fairly safe to say that once you've picked this weapon up, you have pretty much won, and the only thing that's really going to be able to stop you is running out of ammunition. Thankfully though, the shotgun isn't the be-all and end-all of Abort. There's still a few neat little things to discover by using other weapons in the armory, such as revenant heads bouncing around when you do the excessive overdrive butt poke. And then there's the stuff that makes up the back end of the Abort armory, such as the Yukuri plushie here, which, apparently does something very lewd to your enemies, which results in their death before it apparently calls them gay, as evidenced by the text in the top left. And I could try and explain what a Yukuri is, but that requires me talking about Toho and explaining sentient pastry, and I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that, so I'm gonna try and tell you what's happening with the secondary here, which is happening somewhere in the crotch region of my character in exchange for Pepsi. No. I'm moving on. I'm moving on from this one. You know what, I always wondered what Tim Allen was doing these days. Turns out he's a disembodied head in Abort, and he really enjoys killing demons with the aid of sledgehammers and ethereal power drills. I gotta say, it's a good change of career. It's a positive change. It's a good look. It's a good look, Tim. We've also got a few other toys here. The Abort button, that comes later. We're not going back to the Yukuri, but we do have the one link that takes us back to Ouch, the disembodied, screaming doomguy head. You're probably wondering what happens when I activate it. Well, you know what? I think it's time to find out. Ah, turns out it absolutely murders everything. This is fine. This is fine. I was hoping for a horde of tiny disembodied heads. Wait. Is that Revenant stuck? Okay. I think I'm done here. I think I've seen everything I need to see. We're hitting the button. I'm gonna do it. I'm serious. I'm finished. I'm done. Abort! And it pretty much crashes the mod. Yep, that's about right. Honestly, don't know what else I was expecting, really. So this section of video is gonna feel like it comes out of nowhere, because I thought I was done with this. I had finished my edit, I had put it in the can, I'd even uploaded it to YouTube when I discovered there is one very important item here that I have missed. An item that completely changes everything, and it's this hat. Screaming! The screaming intensifies! The weapons go nuts! I have exploding floor tiles, I have a pistol that turns into a bazillion pea shooting pistols at the same time, and there is... I can't even. I literally can't even right now. I think this single item has managed to break my mind. Funnily enough, the Uber gun-shooting shotgun doesn't actually change much, but everything else just goes into fucking hyperdrive. It is insane! And I'm just so happy that I had the opportunity to go back and look at this before I was done, because how could I live without this? How could I live without experiencing the atomic butt poke that's going on right here? I just feel this makes the entire mod. It is the final secret ingredient that tips it over from pretty amusing to goddamn amazing. This right here is art. And I know you're probably wondering, Icarus, that's all well and good, but what the hell is gonna happen when you use the Doomguy head? Well, fear not, because what you're about to witness is goddamn transcendent. You know how I was saying earlier that I was slightly disappointed my Doomguy head didn't grant me a horde of screaming Doomguy heads? Well, color me corrected. I just needed to wear the cowboy hat, but I'm missing something, aren't I? I'm missing one final weapon, but yeah, we're gonna have to put the hat back on, otherwise it's gonna be kinda lackluster. So yeah, let's don that giant screaming cowboy hat one more time, music to my ears, and find out what happens when we unleash the full power of Tim the Toolman Taylor. This isn't good. This feels downright ominous, in fact. Yeah, I'm gonna go this way. Oh my god! From the depths of hell itself, we have wrought an unholy terror, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's time to end this once and for all. I've already used it once, but now I feel like I know the true purpose of the abort button. We gotta make this stop. I'm truly sorry, Tim, but you're an abomination. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that you can in fact kick your enemies to death in Abort if you so choose, but to be honest, after experiencing the giddy highs of everything else this mod has to offer, I'll forgive you for forgetting it even exists as an option. So, real talk, would I recommend Abort? I'm thinking yes. I'm thinking absolutely yes. If you're in the mood for 500 metric tons of abject silliness, then I'm pretty sure this mod has you covered. Of course, for optimal silliness generation, you are going to have to track down that cowboy ad, but I assure you, when you do, good grief. Good grief. Anyway, if you're interested in experiencing this prime slice of chaos for yourself, you can find the download link, as usual, in the description below. While I'm at it, I'd like to give a great big thank you to my wonderful patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so very much for supporting the channel and helping to make content like this possible. If you like the idea of joining these esteemed ranks, getting to see your name in the credits, or even gaining access to new episodes of Doom Mod Madness before everyone else, you can find the link to my Patreon also in the description below. At the very least, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments, and feel free to suggest any mods you'd like to see me cover in future episodes of Doom Mod Madness. This has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.